As a young girl, I would see or be part of some sort of sexual activity. Pornography was normal. The act of sex was normal. I don't ever remember not knowing what sex was. It just seemed to come from almost everybody I knew, whether it was a babysitter or a relative. I didn't see anything different about it or strange. I just thought it was part of growing up. Every time I'd go over to my neighbor Beverly's, I would feel something different, and I would dream. I'd feel like I was important and that things would get better and what she was saying was real. She'd look me in my eyes and she'd talk to me, and she'd tell me she made me my favorite, and she'd read Bible stories to me and pray for me, and she was the first person to ever tell me about Jesus. But I would have to go home, I'd have to cross the street, and I would have to go back to something that wasn't like she explained. It wasn't until I was 12 when I had an opportunity to share and maybe get some help. I was in junior high and I get called to the office. There are police officers there. They were told by my family, by my sister, that what was going on and what had happened. I'd been strongly influenced that what goes on at home stays at home. Whatever I said was either gonna fix or tear apart our home. And so I denied what was happening. That's when I really got sad, because then I realized it made me think that no one, maybe I'd felt it, but that's when I found out, or I started to feel like I wasn't loved by anybody. So that made it hard. It made it hard to be home, and so I can always remember just wanting to grow up and have my own family. High school was rough. I was still going through some of the stuff at home. I was anorexic. I partied. I drank. I smoked weed. When I was 15, my parents decided that they wanted a divorce. I found that out by showing up at home, and my mom had moved out. Then it was when I was 16 that I found out I was pregnant. What that would have normally have been a wonderful thing, but at the time it just wasn't right, and I terminated my baby. But when I was 17, I took the Army test, and by the time I was 18, I was in the Army. I excelled. I was part of, I'd read for the board, and I take tests, and eventually became Soldier of the Year. I came home to see my boyfriend, and we got pregnant. Decided that we were gonna have a family, and so I got out of the Army, I came home. We just were not making the money to afford the lifestyle we wanted. I grabbed the newspaper, looked in the ads, and under Help Wanted, I saw an ad that said beverage server, $100 a night. And it was in a strip club, and I was making pretty good money. But within a couple weeks, I was stripping. Got addicted to the money and the lifestyle, and so I was mixing the alcohol with antidepressant, alcohol and drugs just to keep that lifestyle going so that I could go on stage and I could make that money. Things just started to spiral, and I became so depressed that I was suicidal. We moved to Vegas. And that's when things really got out of control. Drinking more, smoking more, doing more drugs, was on antidepressants. Nothing was enough. Took my whole bottle of antidepressants. It wasn't until I got pregnant with our second son that I stopped dancing. That did make things great at home. Things just kept getting worse. But then I found out I was pregnant again and had a baby girl. She was just a couple months old. I was sitting there and I was holding her. I could see myself in her, and I started remembering my life, and I didn't want that for her. I just felt like my family, my kids, they would be better off without me. I remember laying on the bathroom floor and just ready to give up. And I was laying there and I was crying, and I could physically, like, I could see my neighbor. I could see her saying, Jesus. A few days later, I packed up the kids and went to church. As soon as we walked in, I recognized that feeling. There was a warmth there. I felt safe. I checked in all my kids into their different classes, and I went to service. And at the end of that service was the day that I went to the altar and said yes to Jesus, that I was going to follow Jesus. Since I gave my life to Jesus, my life has changed, my kids' life has changed, my family's changed. He healed me from depression, took away my addictions, freed me from carrying the shame and the guilt that I had. Right away, I knew that I didn't need to be drinking. I stopped taking antidepressants. Every time I would give something to him, he would come in and work it out in me. The things that I was holding on to and feeling guilty about, I would just take to Jesus and ask for forgiveness. And he would just bring this peace in my life that I didn't have. I learned to go first and say sorry and ask God to reveal things to me that I needed healing, and he would heal me and show me how he loved me through my childhood and through those incidents. I'm Lonetta, and Jesus is on demand.